The problem with lying is it is a short-term gain, which increases the likelihood of long-term pain. Others, of course, learn who lies to them and who does not, and they will have no respect if they know that it's a lie. That is a very big burden for a person to carry. When you lie, you are behaving without integrity, and that is very expensive because it costs you your self-respect.
Do you think of soil as just a pile of dirt? In fact, there is much more to soil than your eye can observe. When you dig down into it, you will find that between the surface and the bedrock, the soil is made up of several distinct layers. Closer to the surface, soil contains more organic matter, while deeper down there is a substantial amount of rock.
People everywhere are interested in finding ways to avoid the effects of aging. Special diets, exercise programs, and beauty treatments that promise to help people look and feel young obviously attract thousands of followers. And this interest is nothing new. You might not believe, but legends of youth-giving waters have been around for centuries.
These days, people around the world use the internet to get news and information. On the one hand, the internet has many advantages because it provides instant access to huge amounts of information that might be difficult to get otherwise. On the other hand, the internet has certain problems, including the fact that much of the information you find is untrustworthy.
Providing children with art and music classes as part of their school day means taking time and money away from other areas of their education. In reality, art and music classes broaden children's minds and experiences and provide support to those who have talents in these areas. These are advantages that far outweigh any disadvantages, in my opinion.
There seems to be something special about co-working spaces. Scholars, including diverse groups of freelancers, remote workers, and other independent professionals work together in a shared, communal setting. People who use co-working spaces see their work as meaningful. First, unlike a traditional office, co-working spaces consist of members who work for a range of different companies, ventures, and projects.
Prepared food can actually help people to eat more healthfully. Some people are just too busy to cook. These people could choose to skip meals, or they could choose to fill up on snacks such as potato chips and cookies. But if they buy prepared food from a grocery store or restaurant, then they are actually eating a complete meal. This is much better than eating snacks or, worse, nothing.
An acquaintance and a friend are two completely different kinds of people. An acquaintance is someone you know through circumstance, because you go to the same school or work for the same company or something like that. A friend, on the other hand, is someone you choose to know because you like that person. In the essence, the interests you have in common with an acquaintance are superficial.
Fuel-efficient cars and cars that run on alternative sources of energy are receiving increasing interest as people become more concerned about the costs of using gasoline. These costs include not only the ever-increasing price of filling up a car's fuel tank, but also the environmental costs of emitting huge amounts of car exhaust into the atmosphere.
The surfacing and breathing space of marine birds and mammals is a critical aspect of their habitat, which the animals must consciously deal with on a moment-to-moment basis throughout their lifetimes. With all the boating activity in the vicinity, there are 3 ways in which surface impacts are most likely to affect marine animals by means of collision, collision avoidance, and exhaust emissions in breathing pockets.
A number of jobs have been lost as a direct result of computer technology. Human ticketing agents, for example, are virtually non-existent these days. The number of bank tellers has also been greatly reduced due to automated bank machines. Customer service helplines at a library are almost entirely automated. Today that position doesn't exist because the library has installed computers that do most of the same work that humans did.
The majority of the Earth's glaciers are located near the poles, though glaciers exist on all continents, including Africa and Oceania. The reason glaciers are generally formed in high alpine regions is that they require cold temperatures throughout the year. In these areas where there is little opportunity for summer conditions, that is loss of mass, snow changes into compacted blocks, and then crystallizes ice.
Allergic reactions are triggered by the contact, inhalation, or ingestion of a number of different allergens. Some of the most common allergens are made up of proteins found in plants, mold, food, venom, animal skin, and medication. Symptoms of allergic reactions range from mild irritation such as itching, wheezing, and coughing to life-threatening conditions related to the respiratory and gastrointestinal organs.
The ocean floor is often considered the last frontier on Earth, as it is a domain that remains greatly unexplored. Oceanography, also known as seafloor science, involves measuring and mapping unknowns of the underwater world. Today much of the ocean floor still remains unmapped, because collecting oceanographic data in waters of great depth is a time-consuming and complex endeavor.
Physical education teaches children much more than the rules of a few sports. It gives children the opportunity to learn some important life skills. It gives them experience with teamwork. It gives them the chance to know how it feels to win and to lose. These are things that have importance in all areas in life, not just on a sports field.
It is a fact that many countries are faced with the task of hosting newly arrived immigrants who have been forced from their own homes as a result of war, famine, or poverty. It is difficult to tell the best possible way to help them to adjust and integrate. However, organization of community events and provision of essential information are two best possible avenues.
The most important quality which a teacher needs to possess is the ability to see people as individuals, and to understand the needs of every student. Furthermore, in order for students to reach their full potential, they need to trust their teacher. However knowledgeable a teacher is, they shouldn't treat students unfairly or with sarcasm.
In the past, the company canteen offered a range of meals which were high in sugar and salt. A team of experts was brought in to evaluate the selection of food available. Following their findings, employees can now choose from menus which include many vegetarian options, as well as a salad bar, where they can mix different salad ingredients.
A must-add to your bucket list is a highly recommended and an award-winning documentary called Fire at Sea. Produced by an Italian director, this motion picture is highly rated not only to people who want to learn more about one of today's most important issues, but also to anyone who enjoys fine filmmaking and excellent photography.
Most people today know that airbrushing is used in the pages of magazines to make models look perfect. However, some people may not realize just how much these photos are altered. Are your readers aware of how photographic technology can manipulate the truth and how serious this issue is? The photo technology is often used in the media to present an unrealistic persona.
Although differences between the generations have always existed, it seems that today's gap is becoming unbridgeable. Technology moves so fast that by the time an older person has begun to grasp a concept, that concept is already outdated. When older people don't even use the same vocabulary as their children or grandchildren, how useful can their advice really be?
As well as using only natural fertilizers, biofood farmers avoid using dangerous pesticides which destroy wild flowers and plants. This means the organic farming encourages a greater diversity of plants, insects and animals. Consequently, it would seem that worries about human health as well as a desire to protect the environment are leading many individuals to choose organic products over conventional ones.
To reduce pollution, it is essential that the town center becomes a car-free zone. A ring road should be built so that cars are diverted away from the town center. The main shopping streets could be converted into a pedestrianized area. If trees and flowers are planted, the town center will be transformed into a quiet and green space where residents can enjoy shopping and walking in a healthy environment.
There is no doubt that performing arts is an important part of any individual's development, because it opens our minds to new experiences and encourages us to think about other people's feelings. The schools should inspire an interest in drama, and in addition, theaters should make their performances more accessible by reducing their prices. However, theaters owners say that they will be forced to close down if they lose a lot of money from ticket sales.
As for buying new clothes on a low budget, the best place to start is in any charity shop. Today there are loads of different shops which sell quality secondhand clothing at really cheap prices. You can find unique and affordable items which none of your friends have because they're not available in the high street shops. Dare to be different and your friends will be amazed by your unusual style choices.
Most students use the computer every day. Although some of the time is spent researching for assignments and typing up essays, a lot of it isn't. We enjoy playing online games, listening to music, or catching up with our friends on social media. We also surf the internet for celebrity gossip as well as for the latest trends in fashion and technology. Thus, using a computer seems to be the most enjoyable form of relaxation for college students.
On the news, we often hear stories about the dangers connected to the food we buy. For this reason, more and more people are growing their own fruits and vegetables. First of all, shop-bought food often contains preservatives. The fruit and vegetables on sale look perfect, but often chemicals have been used to help them stay fresh longer. And we all know that these preservatives can't be good at all for our health.
The best thing about eating with family and friends is that everyone is there. Everyone, including young ones as well as old, sit around a same table. The atmosphere is relaxed, everyone's talking, and there's plenty of laughter. It's a time when we can all catch up with each other. If you go to an expensive restaurant, you often have to speak quietly, and young children may not be welcomed.
We have many nonverbal ways of communicating with people, including gestures and facial expressions. They help us learn something about a person without having a conversation. However, just watching a person does not allow you to get to know them well. We get a first impression of them from their hairstyle and clothes, which tells us which fashions they prefer and what their standard is.
Staying at home has its upsides and downsides. The best thing about it is that you have all the comforts of home. You are looked after and you have your meals provided. It is also cheaper than living in a flat because you don't need to be responsible for rent. The downside could be a lack of freedom. Have you thought about your social life? Will your parents let you stay out late or have all your friends round whenever you like?
Many people drive into the city for business or shopping. Consequently, there is too much traffic and pollution in urban centers. If all people decide to use a public transport to the center, it would help to manage traffic jams. If the council could build car parks for shoppers along a ring road, a bus link could take people to the places they want to visit. This would decrease noise levels from cars, as well as pollution from exhaust fumes.
Communicating with someone who lives far away is easy nowadays. A few decades ago, people wrote letters or talked on the phone. However, now we have email, internet chat and mobile phones. When we use a webcam to have a conversation, it is like being in the same room. In addition, many people use social media to post information and photos about themselves, which helps us to learn more about them.
Nowadays, a major reason for choosing what to study is financial, because many people want to earn a higher salary. The money is an important factor in a career, but other aspects should also be taken into account. On the one hand, a qualification that leads to a profession is useful. However, not all professions have high salaries. For example, teachers do not earn a lot of money, but many of them choose to teach because it is what they enjoy doing.
Recently there are many thieves operating in the shopping center as well on buses and trams. Security guards patrolling the center and traveling on transport would be able to watch out for suspicious behavior and prevent thefts from taking place. If there were more police patrols in the local area, pickpockets would be deterred. This would not only prevent pickpocketing, but would also prevent other crimes.
Spending hours studying, watching TV, or playing computer games causes many health problems for students. The muscles become weak, often put on weight, and the immune system collapses. Taking physical education at school is therefore essential. In addition, physical education teaches students to cooperate with each other in a sports tournament. Playing in a team helps students learn how to work as a group and take effort for themselves as well as for others.
Globally and on average, 25% of students attend additional courses outside school. More than 75% of students in Colombia, Latvia, the Slovak Republic, the Philippines, and South Africa have private tuition in mathematics. In Japan and South Korea respectively, the figures are 71% and 64%, while in the UK, 20% of students attend extra courses.
When you write a report about a chart or a graph, don't focus on the details straight away. Take a step back and make sure you see the context or bigger picture. Start by defining what the graphic shows. The next thing you should do is to write a sentence that describes the key trend. Did the numbers rise or fall? If they didn't rise or fall, you can say that there's no clear trend.
It was a Swiss doctor who first suggested that giant plastic balls could be used for health purposes, and Swiss balls, as they became known, soon became very popular. Many people believe that sitting on a Swiss ball is an effective way of building your muscles. These days, you'll see them used for general fitness training when you go to a gym.
Sports watches measure how far and how fast you walk or run. Most can also measure your heart rate and how many calories you burn. They're really beneficial as they encourage people to be as active as possible. As soon as you turn the watch on, it starts working and can tell you how far you've walked or run.
Unfortunately, controlled studies still have a number of limitations. The first is ethics. It would be problematic to make one group of people smoke and to force someone addicted to smoking not to smoke. And in fact, laws stop scientists from doing such studies. There's also the issue of paying enough people to take part in the study for a long enough time to make the study meaningful.
Ever since the Industrial Revolution, people have turned away from nature in an effort to make progress. We have learnt how to burn and destroy things in nature to create energy, or to engineer new materials like concrete, asphalt and glass, with which we've covered the natural landscape. But with this violence towards nature, have we perhaps overlooked the benefits of working with nature to solve our problems?
Termites, the tiny creatures, have learnt to create a comfortable home in some of the world's toughest climates. Outside, in the African savanna, the temperatures vary from 40 degrees in the day to 1 degree at night. Yet, inside the mound, the temperature stays constant. Meanwhile, at various points of the mound there are small vents through which water evaporates, cooling the structure.
Food producers, consumers, and researchers use a variety of ways to make food taste better. Food producers can accurately measure the spiciness of raw ingredients and finished products in order to ensure that their products appeal to customers. Some consumers, especially fans of spicy food, use the ratings to find the hottest peppers they can, or to avoid overly spicy varieties.
Critics of color psychology actually point to a number of problems. They believe that the research methods may be shoddy, and the relationship between color and human behavior is not biological. However, companies continue to follow the precepts of color psychology, and say that they can see the benefits of color psychology in increased sales and customer loyalty, only when color psychology is used effectively.
Soil is the top layer of the Earth's surface, mostly created from weathered rock. It is made up of varying amounts of minerals, humus, or decayed organic matter, and useful living creatures like worms. The finest rock particles within soil form sticky clay, the medium particles become silt, and the coarsest constitute sand. While there is sufficient moisture, soil supports vegetation, providing a habitat for a variety of animals.
The concept of digital native is one that became relevant as technology proliferated, and more new devices like computers became available. As devices were introduced and became more complex, it seemed to many observers that those who were born after the advent of the personal computer and other devices had experience with them as children. Thus they seemed to integrate technology into their lives in natural ways.
Climate data released recently reveal that the Arctic ice cap melted at an alarming rate during the summer of 2013, shattering the previous record for summer melting set in 2008. Many climatologists believed, "We thought that might be the record for quite a while." Satellite photos of the ice cap show that the ice cap is the smallest it has ever been since scientists began taking satellite photos of the ice cap in 1990s.
An eclipse is an astronomical event in which light from one planetary body is blocked by other planets such as the Moon or Earth. The Sun, Earth, and Earth's moon are all involved in two kinds of eclipses. A solar eclipse occurs when light from the Sun is blocked by the Moon. For a solar eclipse to occur, the Sun, Moon, and Earth must be in alignment, with the Moon in the middle to block the Sun's light.
Companies are examining new ways of organizing work teams to better meet the demands of the global economy. Effective organizations realize that structuring employees' work in traditional rigid departments and divisions does not meet their needs. Companies these days want to organize workers into cross-functional teams with expertise drawn from many departments of the company, not just one or two.
Scientists have noticed that whales have small bumps on their fins. By putting similar bumps on the wings of airplanes, they've been able to increase efficiency by about 32%, which saves a lot of fuel. There are also bumps on the underside of lotus leaves that help keep them clean. Paint manufacturers have already invented a paint that uses this design to help keep walls clean every time it rains.
Exercise bikes are a common sight in gyms everywhere and are used by a wide range of people. Parents can even buy exercise bikes that rock a baby to sleep while they use them. They have a variety of programs to make the exercise as easy or as demanding as you want. And they tell you how far you cycle, as well as how many calories you burn.
Water moves around Earth in all three states, as vapor, a gas in the atmosphere, as a liquid in rain, rivers, and lakes, and as a solid as snow and ice. The process by which water moves about and changes state is called the hydrological cycle. The hydrological cycle has 4 stages: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. In the evaporation stage, liquid water becomes a gas and enters the atmosphere.
When people think about sports medicine, they often think about a team doctor treating an injured player on the field, but sports medicine also includes prevention of injuries. This function is often exercised by the athletic trainer, whose training equips him or her to design effective workout and practice routines that build physical strength and help prevent injuries.
As long as there have been farmers, they have saved the seeds from the current year's crop so that it can be planted the next year. In fact, saving seeds is one of the oldest activities continuously performed by humans. Organized farming began during the Neolithic Revolution, the time about 12,000 years ago when humans began to organize permanent settlements, cultivate crops, and raise animals for food.
A recent study sheds new light on a common human behavior of telling a lie. The study examined how well people can falsify the facts. Specifically, the study considered whether practicing of telling a lie made people better at convincing others that they are telling the truth. The design of the study used volunteers who agreed to tell lies to other volunteers who were listeners. Some of the liars were required to practice telling lies before telling them to other volunteers.
Basically, I'm happy with my e-reader, but I still love my local bookshop. I regularly spend hours there at the weekend looking at all the covers. Possibly I'll read for a while too. But then if I like a book, I don't buy it at the shop. I just go to the shop's cafe and download a cheap digital copy.
In psychology as well in medicine, the term stress is a relatively new. To no one's wonder, the first usage of the term being noted around 1940s. Up until that time, the word stress was mostly used in physical sciences, architecture, and engineering fields, to describe the strains that force and motion put on objects. For instance, a building might exhibit stress as a strong wind blows on it.
The arts and crafts movement was an influential international design trend that lasted from about 1860 to 1910. Emphasizing handcrafting and decoration styles drawn from traditional and medieval motifs, the movement started in England and spread from there to industrialized parts of Europe as well as North America. Though considered mainly as a cause for design, it was as much a social and political movement opposed to the excesses of industrialization to anyone's concern.
In nature, any adaptation that provides an animal with a better chance of survival gives it a competitive advantage over others. One of the most common of these adaptations is camouflage, an animal's ability to hide itself. While a tiger's stripes or a bird's bright green color may appear unique and attractive to us, these kinds of coloration actually serve an important purpose. Camouflage gives organisms many advantages like hiding from predators and avoid becoming prey.
Perhaps you're one of those people who don't actually like taking exercise. Well, the good news is that you don't necessarily need to work too hard to keep fit. Of course, there are some demanding forms of exercise that are good for you. Running, for example, can burn 1,267 calories if you run at 17.5 kilometers per hour. Almost as useful are other forms of physical outdoor work.
A temple in the Roman world performed a different role from a modern religious building. People did not gather inside. Most activities, including sacrifices, took place in the open air. Instead, a temple was a sanctuary, or sacred home, for gods. The dark, unlit room in which statues of the gods stood was called a cellar in Latin, the language of the Romans.
The invention of the submarine is in large part a reflection of the history of technology. A submarine is a boat that is capable of traveling under the sea using its own power. To build a submarine, at least 3 technological problems had to be overcome. A way had to be devised for the submarine to dive underwater and return to the surface. Also, a power source was needed, and it needed to be supplied with fuel and air.
Beginning around 1400s, European emperors began to expand their colonies and trade networks. It became necessary to improve the speed and safety of sea voyages. Accurate maps and sophisticated equipment that showed navigators their exact position were required. To anyone's wonder, however, the exact position was hard to calculate since Earth is not completely spherical.
Hybrid vehicles offer many advantages to consumers and society. They offer lower operating costs as well as reduced emissions. Strictly speaking, a hybrid vehicle combines 2 kinds of power sources: an internal combustion engine, powered by burning gas or another flammable substance, and an electrical motor. Notwithstanding this, hybrids can include other power sources as well.
I often buy 2 or 3 books a day for my e-reader. Generally, if I see an advert, read a good review, or a friend recommends a book, I just buy it. Sometimes the books are good, sometimes they're terrible. I know I spend a lot of money, but perhaps because they're only e-books, it doesn't feel that bad.